Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled, the TV podcast here on the Mild Fuzz Podcast Network. I'm Peter Bradley, and joining me as always, he's the ginger in disguise, he's Connor Ryan.
That's me. Not much of a disguise though, is it? Let's be honest.
Nah, you're not fooling anyone. So yeah, we talk TV, and every week we review a bunch of TV shows. This week you've got reviews of the new episodes of The Flash, of Arrow, of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Syfy's Winona Earp, and there's no Game of Thrones review this week because the guys who review that, Matt and Alan, Alan was travelling this week and they're just going to cover both this week's and next week's episode when they review next week's. So you'll just get like a sort of double next time if you were expecting that or looking for it. So as always guys, if you're on YouTube, click on the links on the screen to take you to the reviews. And if you are listening to the audio version, just use the timestamps in the description to jump ahead, because they all come up at the end of the show. That said, before we get to any of that, you have to go through the news. As is tradition here, we go through the week's TV news, and typically we'll have a couple of news items. We'll have, it'll be maybe 15-20 minutes of news. Not this week. This week, we will probably have the longest news segment we've ever had.
Get ready for the marathon, folks.
Because this was the upfronts week, and all of the final renewals and cancellations happened, as well as all of the new show pickups. So, plus some actual regular news as well at the end. So, we have a lot. Now, I've condensed some of this to make it nice and quick. The cancellations list, for example, is just going to be a list of things. The renewals is mostly just going to be a list of things. But the new pickups, that's going to be meaty. Because I need to tell you what those are.
God damn it. Didn't we do this already in pilot season?
We kind of did. When I say X title, you're not going to remember what it was from 2-3 months ago.
No, I couldn't. Do you know what? Even that crazy Mermaid War one, I couldn't tell you the name of.
Something Reef, I'm sure. Ivy Reef or something. I don't know, I can't remember.
See?
I can't remember. But that's not including this because that's on a cable network.
Yeah. But I'm saying that's how little I could remember what they all were.
This is your main network. So without further ado, guys, buckle in. We have a shit ton of news this week. So here we go. First up, let's do the renewals. All right.
Starting positive.
Starting positive because I feel like we want to start with a happy note. And right at the top of the renewal list is Supergirl, because last week I actually named the news segment Supergirl in Trouble? Because we were worried.
We were
very worried. Because we like that show. And got great news this week. It's moving to the CW. It's been renewed for season 2. 22 episodes. And obviously one of the things that comes with this is obviously it's going to have to lower budget. But they're basically offsetting most of that by shooting in Vancouver instead of Los Angeles. And we're not losing Cat Grant, which is something we thought
Have they confirmed that?
Yeah, well, admittedly, I seen it mentioned on a message board that someone had confirmed it, but it sounded
enough.
No one said she's leaving. Like no one's even.
No one has said that. That is true.
So it sounds fine.
It's interesting that they've gone for 22 instead of 23, like Flash and Arrow.
The budget, just one episode less.
Yeah, it could be. Could be just that they were contracted before for 22 per season. The actors.
Could be. Oh, season 1 was 20, so.
No, that's true.
So I don't know why it's exactly one less. It does seem a bit weird. It's not like Legends where it's like a significant amount, but it's a shorter season.
Yeah,
it's just one episode.
Because this is presumably going to run alongside Flash and Arrow.
Yeah. I don't know. It could literally just be down to like a slight budget thing. Like maybe the accountants sat and worked it out what it was going to cost per episode and said, you know what, this is affordable, but with one less.
Yeah, it could be.
Could literally just be that. I don't know.
I'm alright. 22 is enough.
Oh yeah, I mean it's more than season 1, so
Exactly.
Great. I'm ecstatic about this because I wanted more Supergirl. I really like the show, but also because on CW this will now last for years.
Our hope paid off.
Yeah, hope is stronger than fear. People, hope is stronger than fear. So that was the big news this week that made us all happy here. So. Great stuff. So that's been renewed, and that's the one in this list we care about. The rest of this stuff is stuff we don't watch, but I'm going to mention it. I'm going to list them off quickly. So Supergirl's been renewed for season 2, 22 episodes, exciting stuff. Also renewed is Last Man Standing, which has been renewed for season 6 at ABC. Also ABC, Dr. Ken has been renewed for season 2.
Why? That looked dreadful.
It did look bad, but also ABC, The Catch has been renewed for a second season. Also ABC, The Real O'Neills has been renewed for a second season. And finally ABC, American Crime has been renewed for a third season. Which, I'm surprised how much they renewed given the bloodbath that they're going to have in the cancellation section that we get to in a minute. But, there you go. That's some ABC shows renewed. CBS renewed Life in Pieces for a second season.
I watched the first few episodes of that. It was pretty good.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was that a comedy?
Yes, it was. It's a 20-minute comedy, but it's split into 5-minute sections. Each one follows a different member of the family.
Yeah, okay. And last up on the renewals. Now, keep in mind, most of the renewals for stuff came earlier. Like, all the stuff that's been renewed at this point were all the stuff that was on the bubble and could have went either way. And Supergirl obviously had its own reasons
Issues,
for being so late, but most of the renewals happened earlier. But the last renewal we've got just now, and this is probably the most interesting one outside of Supergirl, is Sleepy Hollow, because it's coming back for a fourth season without its lead character. The female lead of that show, played by Nicole Beharie, or Behair, I apologise if I'm butchering that name, but she has left the show. Which, if you actually watch the show, I know how they wrote her out, so I won't spoil it, just in case you're catching up and don't know that. But it is in the season 3 final. It's you realise that she's going to be gone. This isn't surprising news to you if you watch the show, but it does mean that the show is going to have a different dynamic next season.
Oh, I gave up on that. Like, they changed the showrunners after the season 2, and it just and they're like, they came out and said, yeah, it's going to be more procedural, and because the original story was meant to end at the mid-season of season 2. Like, you can see where it was meant to end, and they were told to do more after. And then they just replaced the showrunners after that entirely.
I have mixed minds about that, because I feel like unless you were actually like greenlit as a limited series, having only enough story for what, because the first season was only like 13 episodes, I think, so that's like what, 20 plus episodes?
Yeah, because the second was a bit longer.
So you're going to be in a show that's going to have multiple seasons, right? Potentially. You should be prepared for more. So I will criticise the makers of the show a little bit for that.
Yeah, but then they were told they had to make it more procedural instead of
that's
serial story.
I only watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes of that, and it was fine. Like I could have seen myself watching more of it if I had been reviewing shows at that point. But I just kind of fell behind on it. But so yeah, they've lost their female star, which, unlike the Castle controversy, it should be noted here that the star herself had been wanting to leave all season. Like, she'd been negotiating at the start of the season because she wanted out of her contract. So this was her choice to leave. Yeah. And if anything, they talked her into staying for half a season longer than she wanted to. So, that's definitely worth keeping in mind when talking about this. So that's all the renewals that happened this week. We do ever have the graveyard of cancellations.
Should we start with the one most appropriate to this show?
Well, you could mean 2 things with that, so I'm just going to go in the order that I've got them written down.
Okay.
So first up, Agent Carr.
Wasn't that one?
Yeah, but this is more appropriate because we covered this, and there's related news that ties along with this. Agent Carter has been cancelled after its second season, and this is no surprise to anyone. It wasn't doing that well, and we gave up reviewing it, which we never do. Like, obviously we give up a lot of things after one episode because that's just like a rule. We try the pilot, and if it's like, no, we're not watching this, then that's fine. This is one of the rare examples where halfway through the season we just threw our hands up and said, we're not doing this.
Halfway through the second season at that.
Second season, yeah. Because what happened was they put episodes, I think it was 5 and 6 on the same night as a double, and all of us basically said, oh god, 2? I need to watch 2 of them. And that's when we realised that we just couldn't do it anymore. So obviously we are not upset about this. I understand there's a movement online right now because it was one of the few shows with a strong female lead, although I would recommend you go check out Supergirl. I'm quite happy that show's continuing, and it's got a good
start. Even Winona Earp.
Yeah, even Winona Earp, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I would completely agree that we need more shows with strong female leads on TV.
But not at the expense of good quality.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm all for more female leads, but if the show overall is not that good, and in the case of Agent Carter, I thought it was downright boring.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have the little tinge of diversity for the sake,
And looking at from ABC's perspective, why the hell should they? It was performing badly. It was losing them money essentially.
Yeah,
They have no reason on earth to keep this around.
And I like the cast. There was good things about it, but it was like the best intentions, just with really dull storytelling, and it just wasn't that captivating. So, good riddance, honestly. The sad news that's connected to this, though, is that Marvel's Most Wanted, it's not a cancellation as such, but it essentially is. It's not been picked up. They made a pilot. They took Bobby and Hunter off the show in the middle of season 3 of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they were away to film the pilot for this, with the potential of that starting next season, and they're not doing it. They're not giving a reason because they don't have to give a reason. It's,
Maybe it didn't work as a pilot. We don't know.
I mean, honestly, if I was to guess, it might just be the people who made it just blew it. They just, the script maybe wasn't that good. Maybe the pilot wasn't directed that well. I don't know. But my only concern now is that I really want them to come back to the show now.
See, I'm torn because it's like I really want more Bobby and Hunter, and I want them back in the show. But will that cheapen their leaving?
I would say no, because I thought them leaving felt kind of forced anyway.
Fair enough.
I felt them leaving was like, oh, we want them on their own show, so here's a reason for them to leave, rather than
But the moment itself was quite nice.
The moment itself was quite nice, but it wasn't an exit for me that felt like, oh, they can't just have a big grand moment returning next season where they come in and save the day when all hell's going off or whatever.
Here's hoping then.
So hopefully we get them back on the show. Otherwise, that's really depressing. But yes, next up on the cancellation. So that was ABC, obviously, because that's the Marvel shows. But we'll get a bunch more ABC here. Castle. We spoke about the controversy of the lead actress being not fired, but chosen not to, come back after her contract ended.
Yeah.
For a potential 9th season. Nathan Fillion actually did get a contract for a 9th season should it be picked up. But they've decided at the last minute that they're not going to do it. They're just ending it there. Which is a shame for fans because it means you didn't really get an ending, I don't think.
Doesn't sound like it.
Nah, it sounds like, I don't know.
Just another regular season finale.
Yeah. But continue with the cancellations here. ABC also cancelled The Muppets, which is a shame based on the first few episodes I've seen, but I understand that they changed it drastically.
I'm sure you just told me we'd finished with ABC.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Are you thinking back to the renewals section?
Maybe I am. I don't know.
Yeah. In fact, the thing I said before the Muppets, I said we've got a bunch more with ABC.
Okay.
So the Muppets have been cancelled. Gallivant's been cancelled. That was on its 2nd season.
Is that the musical one?
I have no idea. Sounds like a musical. The Family has been cancelled at ABC. Now that's ABC done. Over to NBC. They've cancelled Nashville after 4 seasons, which I know has its fans. I have never watched it, but
I haven't either.
NBC also cancelled Undateable, which had its 3rd season this past year. Switching over to CBS, they have one cancellation to speak of, and that is CSI Cyber. I can't speak today. Which is notable because even though that was only on its 2nd season, it's had 2 seasons. It's actually the last standing CSI show. Keep in mind that CSI Vanilla, as I'll call it, ran for 15 seasons, CSI Miami ran for 10 seasons, and CSI New York ran for 9 seasons. CSI Cyber...
They're going to feel really shit after 2.
Yeah, but at the same time you're thinking, well, that's like, what, were it 30 seasons combined? Something like that.
CSI is finally dead.
Yeah, it's finally had enough. And CBS are, of course, still doing their NCIS, and I think that Hawaii Five-O's on that network, and they've got their procedurals that they're doing, but it's notable. It's the end of an era. Like, CSI started when I was, I don't even know if I was in high school when that started.
Jesus, what year did CSI start?
It was the 90s. I think it was the 90s.
I have to check.
The original
2000.
2000, okay, close enough. Yeah, that was a year before I started high school. So there you go. That's how long that had been going for. So CSI is finally dead. So jumping over to Fox, they cancelled a few things. They cancelled The Grinder, which was their lawyer comedy. They cancelled Grandfathered, which was just a mediocre comedy we tried the pilot for. And they also cancelled Border Town, which I'm unfamiliar with. All these shows, if I've not mentioned the season, it's because it was the first season.
Yeah. Grandfathered actually performed better than The Grinder in the numbers.
Well, they both got cancelled, so...
They did, but Grandfather was better. But I thought it was a much worse show.
Oh, no, I agree, yeah. I mean, I only watched the pilots of both, but Grinder seemed like it had more potential.
Yeah.
And then last up on the cancellation front, the CW cancelled Containment, which is their event thing that's happening right now.
Is that one we were going to try, and then we were like, oh, we couldn't even bring ourselves to bother.
Yeah, we were going to try it, and then we heard really mediocre reviews, and we cancelled at the last minute. So, bullet dodge there. Yeah. So that's the renewals and the cancellations. So let's get on to the marathon that is the new show pickups. Now, not to be confused with pilot orders, this is the shows that are actually going to be airing this coming autumn/fall. We are, of course, from the UK, so we do say autumn, but for some reason when I talk about TV, I still say fall, because that's the way the Americans all say it, because it's the fall season.
When you kind of slip into this American schedule, you kind of slip into their terminology. You slip into seasons and fall instead of autumn and series.
I will say this, I flat out prefer the term season. I think that's a better word.
I have no preference, personally. I just use whichever one I'm...
The series is the whole
show.
The series is the whole show, the season is one.
I understand that logic, and it is a good distinction. But if I'm talking about a British show, I will still say series. I will never call Doctor Who a season. It betrays everything I stand for.
I'll do it, and I'll do it. And when a British person gets annoyed that I do it, I will laugh in their face and say, "Come at me, bro."
Oh, you're asking for it.
But actually, here's a bit of TV news that I didn't put in this because no one outside of Scotland cares about this. But I do want to say that I am pumped that we're getting a 7th series of Still Game this year. That's fantastic.
How is that?
It is a Scottish sitcom, which you don't even get in England, but it's phenomenal.
Maybe I'll check it out.
You actually might like it. I think the humour is broad enough that someone in England at least would get out of it. And
we can understand your accents as well, unlike the Americans.
But it's about old. The actors aren't actually old, but they play old men. That said, they're getting old now. We're getting to the point where in a few years' time they won't have to use the makeup anymore. It'll just be that's your age.
Anyone I've heard of?
You might know them. They used to. Did you ever get Chewing the Fat in England? They used to do that as a sketch comedy. The same guys used to do. I recommend Still Game though. I recommend people in the UK who have not checked out Still Game to check it out. And
Americans, if they can stomach the accent.
I think if you've been listening to me for a while, I think you'll manage it somehow. That said, it is Scottish people talking to other Scottish people, so it tends to get a bit...
Your accent isn't that strong compared to some that you hear on TV.
That's it. It's an area near Glasgow, so it is a similar accent to mine.
Right.
It's very similar. But that's a slight tangent. So check out Still Game if you want to. I wholeheartedly recommend it. So it's been nearly a decade since the last season because the guys who do it, the main two guys who write it all together, fell out for years and didn't speak. And then they reunited for a stage show a couple of years ago or last year, and then this is them.
To be fair, it's very common in British TV to have years between.
It is.
Seasons,
and like all British TV, it's only going to be 6 episodes, which is annoying, but still, 6 quality episodes is better than 20 shite ones.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Still, I always love binge watching sitcoms, so I always hate when I like a British sitcom and then it's just only 6 episodes.
I know.
Fucking, you binge watch the whole of the IT Crowd, which is another fantastic show that you should check out if you haven't, and it's like the whole thing's 25 episodes.
Same goes for Peep Show. It's 9 series long, but that's less than 50 episodes.
Yeah, it's upsetting. But anyway, we've tangented. So on to the new show pickups for all American TV. In case you don't care about British TV, you've just been bored by our little tangent. So starting with ABC once again, they have ordered Time After Time, which we covered a lot of these in the pilot season, but I'm just going to give you the
I don't remember
again.
This at all.
Yeah, Time After Time is a science fiction story about H.G. Wells, who's transported to the modern day Manhattan in pursuit of Jack the Ripper. So, by the way, there's a lot of time travel shows this year. You'll notice a theme as we go through a lot of these.
But that's the only one that has a cool song already.
Somehow I don't think they're going to use that song for this show.
If they don't license that and pop it up in an episode somewhere, they've missed out.
But yeah, so Wells arrives in present day New York. He's hunting Jack the Ripper, and he finds a world he never thought possible, and also a young woman that captivates him. So of course there'll be a love story as well.
Of course, this is network TV.
That's where you fit in Time After Time.
Yeah.
You can't fit it in while he's chasing Jack the Ripper. That makes no sense.
No. But I'm waiting for it.
What if the opening music's like a remix, like they've done like a cover,
a pastiche of it? That'd be amazing.
That's like sounds kind of like, you know, adventure-y and sinister because it's like chasing Jack the Ripper.
Just needs to happen.
Or just get Rammstein to do a cover. I'll be cool with that.
that would be cool. Very expensive, but cool.
Next up at ABC. By the way, Time After Time is showrun or created by Kevin Williamson. Who, if you don't know him, he created Dawson's Creek, but he also created the Scream movies. So I'm expecting a kind of a slight wit to it, kind of thing.
Could be fun.
Definitely one we'll be checking out the pilot of when it hits. I'll be saying that for a lot of these, to be honest. Next up on ABC, we've got Notorious, which is inspired by the true life stories of famed criminal defence attorney Mark Geragos.
You messed up Mark, so you have no hope on the surname.
Yeah, well, I just stuttered. I didn't mess. I know how to say the word name Mark. I got hair.
So professional.
Well, I live with 3 goddamn cats, right? You get hairs, just rogue hairs going around the place at times. I've not got it yet,
Jesus, this is shoddy. Stop laughing and get the damn hair. Oh my god. Still going?
I've got it.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Hey, at least I went off camera to do that. I didn't.
That's a good 40 seconds there of you getting a damn hair out of your mouth.
And you filled that time like a right chump.
Well, what was I supposed to fill it with? You were getting a hair.
A professional would have told a nice story while I was doing that.
I didn't know. I thought you would be like 5 seconds. Look, hair, done. No, you took ages. 5 seconds, not enough time to tell a story.
It was a short hair. I had to hunt for it.
Well, I didn't know that.
Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so true stories of Mark Geragos and cable news producer Wendy Walker, both of whom are also producing the show, so they're involved, the real people. And it looks at the interplay of the worlds of criminal law and the media, which isn't a whole lot to go on. I really don't get a sense of tone. It doesn't sound like something that I think we would cover. We might still do the pilot. We might check it out.
Sounds like interesting though. Potentially.
Depending on the angle, if it's yeah, I mean, if it feels like a procedural crime show, then we're quickly
but it
out.
could be like a really cynical look at things that could be interesting.
Next up at ABC is Conviction, which stars Hayley Atwell, which is good because she needs the work because Agent Carter just got cancelled. I like that. I like that they give her a job. She's got an American accent in this one because she's playing the former first daughter, right? And she's a lawyer who accepts a job. This is a really weird bit of phrasing here because it sounds like an otherwise serious show, but it says she accepts a job from her sexy nemesis, New York District Attorney Wayne Wallace, played by Eddie Cahill, and to avoid jail time for a cocaine possession and avoid hurting her mother's Senate campaign, she starts to work on this new job offer, this thing. So basically, it's about she leads a team of lawyers or whoever who look at convictions that were false or might be false and investigates them like after the fact and proves that they were false.
See, this half sounds like a bullshit lawyer procedural. But then it sounds batshit insane, and I'm interested. And then Hayley Atwell, so it's like, oh, I'm definitely interested.
I'm not sold on this one. This again feels like it's going to end up being a procedural law
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, most likely.
So maybe we'll check the pilot out. I'm not sure, but that's definitely not a definite from us. Especially since there's actually quite a lot of pilots here that we'll definitely check out, to the point where some of these iffy ones are probably just get missed.
I feel like you're saying definite a lot. It's definitely not one that we will definitely check out, but there are others that we will definitely check. Oh God,
I will definitely smack you in the mouth if you keep correcting me, bitch.
try it.
I'll slap that ginger right off your face.
Sounds like you're trying to do some help there.
Yeah, that's like I'm Jesus and I've got the cure. Like, I've got the touch.
Yeah.
You are healed, my child. Alright, next up. We have Still Star-Crossed. You might remember this one because it's got a really simple way of describing it. It's basically set after Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember this? Remember we made Italian this during the pilot season? It's based on a book by the same name from Melinda Taub. Or Taub. Taub. Taub.
Taub. Yeah.
Taub.
Could be Taub. I don't know.
Melinda.
Yeah.
Mel. Me and Mel, we're good friends. We can call it, use first name basis.
Gotcha.
But it picks up, after where Romeo and Juliet ends, charting the treachery, palace intrigue, and ill-fated romance of the
Montagues.
Montagues, thank you. And
Someone doesn't know their Shakespeare.
I've never read Romeo and Juliet.
You're a disgrace of a British person.
We never did Romeo and Juliet. We did Hamlet. We did Much Ado About Nothing, and we did Othello in my English class. Never did Romeo and Juliet. Never did Macbeth. Those are the ones you'd expect us to do.
Have you not even watched any of the Romeo and Juliet films?
Oh, we did Merchant of Venice as well.
Oh, okay. That's an odd one.
I think my teacher just liked it. She picked our favourites and went
Yeah,
with
it's just an odd one to do in a school. I've never heard of anyone else doing that
I'm
one.
glad we did that one though, because the old pound of flesh reference comes up a lot, so I'm glad that I get it. I respect that at least that part of it. It keeps me in the it's weird to call Shakespeare pop culture, but it keeps me in the.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of that in Shakespeare, surprisingly.
Also a lot of gibberish.
Well, yeah, but some of that gibberish stuck because he was inventing half that gibberish as he went along.
So that family and the other one, which you're going to tell me. Capulets.
Capulets, yeah.
Capulets. There you go.
Sorry. Blank.
So it's about these two families after the plot of Romeo and Juliet. It doesn't mention present day, so I think it's actually going to be a period piece.
That's kind of interesting.
That sounds expensive.
Does sound expensive. What network is this on?
Still in ABC. Well, I've kept all the networks together, so
okay. I guess I'm a little bit worried then.
can't say I'm feeling this one. I didn't even know the names of the families. That just shows you how much interest I've got in this.
Might check it out. I like Shakespeare, but again, not got much hope.
Nah. All right, sticking with ABC, but we're on to comedies now. Those were all hour-long dramas.
Yeah.
Now we're on to the comedies. First up is Speechless. Now I remember talking about this one in the pilot season, but I think I had a different name.
Right. Okay.
Because I remember talking about this plot, but I do not remember the name of Speechless.
Unless it was an untitled one.
No, it wasn't untitled. I remember it having a title because I remember thinking the title was insensitive. I think it was like the title might have been Special, and you'll see what I mean. Why that's kind of insensitive when I tell you the plot here. But it's It's going to star Minnie Driver, which I think is new information. I don't think we knew who it was going to be her when it was in pilot season time. But who you may know from About a Boy if you want to put a face on her. So she plays the lead character, who's a mum on a mission who will do anything for her husband, her kids, one of whom, named JJ, is a son with special needs. And she fights injustices in both real and imagined. The family works to make a new home for themselves and searches for just the right person to give JJ his voice. So I think he's mute. I think that's the point of the title. But I remember the title being more insensitive at the time.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that as well.
I don't remember what the title was, but I remember it being kind of, that's a bit...
I remember us talking about it.
I also remember us talking about how this doesn't sound like it should be a comedy. It sounds like it should be a drama.
Yeah.
Because I'm worried. Because when you say special needs, I really worry that it's going to be kind of poor taste. The comedy.
Yeah, it's going to devolve into jokes.
And I hope it's not. I hope
Extent.
it's smarter than that, and I hope it's actually kind of impressive.
It
You
could
know?
be. Yeah.
And that'd be really cool if it is. Like, it'd actually be kind of an achievement if they could do like a good comedy that has something like that in it.
Yeah.
I'd actually respect them a lot if they pull that off. But there's also the worry it'll just be poor taste. Because I can't remember, but was ABC the network that did was it Work It? The show about the two men who dressed up as women because men can't get jobs anymore, so they
I don't remember that at all.
cross dress. I just remember it was infamous because it was the first ever time that IGN gave something a 0.
Jesus
And
Christ.
that was the pilot, and it sounded awful. And it did that whole thing where the male workers like found them attractive and tried to hit on them, even though they were clearly men dressed as women. It was just awful. I didn't see it, but everything I heard was just atrocious. It's just, so
One
yeah.
for the history books.
So hopefully Speechless comes off as better taste than that. That's what I'm saying. Admittedly, it may not have been ABC. For some reason, I'm thinking ABC in my head. But so next up, also a comedy on ABC, we have a live-action CGI hybrid called Imaginary Mary, which centers around Alice, a fiercely independent career woman whose life is turned upside down when she meets the love of her life, a divorced father with 3 kids. This triggers even more upheaval when the slightly unhinged imaginary friend named Mary she created as a child suddenly reappears to help her navigate the transition from single girl to woman ready for a family. I kind of like the sound of this one.
It sounds wacky as fuck.
Did you ever see Drop Dead Fred?
No. Oh, actually, I feel like I did.
It's a movie starring Phoebe Cates and Rick Mayall, and Rick Mayall plays our imaginary friend, who's like this batshit insane character and all that. Now, admittedly, I don't really remember it, but reading this, it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
And it stars Alice. Oh, Alice is the character, and it stars Jenna Elfman from Dharma and Greg. I don't know if you've ever seen Dharma and Greg.
No, but I know the name. I'm gonna have to.
Oh, listen to him typing. Look at him.
Yeah.
He's looking.
Oh, okay. I know she is.
So yeah, no, I think again, the comedy could be terrible for all we know, but I think this concept, bit of potential.
Yeah.
Bit of potential. Next up, still on ABC. You can start to see why they cancel so many shows because they've got so many new ones coming.
Yeah. Better be worth it.
So another comedy on ABC, we have Downward Dog. What do you think this is about? I want to hear what you think this is about. Before I tell you.
Well, there's some connotations there already, isn't there? I'm intrigued as to where they go with this.
All right, it's about a struggling millennial. I love how that's popping up in show synopsises now as the word millennial. Played by Alison Tolman from season 1 of Fargo.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm a disgrace, I know.
You're a disgrace.
I forgot to watch season 1. I haven't gone back yet.
That's the main character of Fargo season 1 for everyone else who has seen it. So she's a struggling millennial, right? She's the main character, but the whole thing's told from the point of view of her lonely and philosophical dog, Martin.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm in. just. Oh, yes.
There you go. That's the show. It is worth noting this is based on a web series, and I can sort of see how that started as a web series. Actually, I can see someone doing this as a sketch, and then someone seeing it and going, you know what?
Fucking having that.
I can do this. I can do this for 20 odd episodes.
Yeah.
Again, comedy could be terrible, but I think, you know what?
The premise is there.
The premise could be a hoot.
There's a thing with sitcoms where the premise can either be stupidly simple
and still be amazing. Like, if the writing's good, it could be amazing.
Yeah, or it can be completely insane and should be amazing, but it just isn't.
It's just terrible, yeah, because the writing...
It's really hard to gauge with sitcoms.
Yeah, it's all about chemistry and writing and things clicking together, you know. And you can say that about a lot of things, but I think with comedy especially.
Yeah, characters are the most important thing with comedy, I find.
So yeah, another comedy on ABC. I've got a feeling this one's not going to sound as crazy as the last two, potentially. But so this one's untitled right now. It's just referred to as the Untitled Sarah Dunn Project, which is she's the creator. And it centers around a character named Katie Otto, who's a confident, unapologetic, plump wife. Actually, no, wait a minute. This used to have a title. When we did pilot season, this had a title.
Did it?
Yes. When we did the pilot season, it was called The Second Fattest Housewife in Westport.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And right, because I did actually read all these earlier when I did the news, because it took me like an hour to do all the news this week, because it was just fucking tons of it. But, so I just remembered as I was reading it here. Yeah, so she is raised in a flawed family in a wealthy town of Westport, Connecticut, filled with I'll do that again. Filled with perfect mummies and their perfect offspring. Katie will let us in on her deepest, most unfiltered thoughts through voiceover as she lives her life as the second fattest housewife in Westport.
Through voiceover. Could be good or awful.
I agree. It could be good, it could be awful. And I hope, when we read the premise of this back in pilot season, it sounded like she wasn't actually fat. It sounded like she just wasn't anorexic. Like, everyone else was just really skinny and perfect, and she was just, like, normal.
Well, I still get that there, where it says plump.
Yeah, no, I agree it still could be, but the word plump means... It sounds a little bit bigger than I would have thought before.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not... I hope she's not fat. I hope she's just normal. Like, I hope I look at her and go...
She's very slightly chubby.
Yeah, I hope I look at her and go... I mean, I'd still ask her out. Like, I hope I feel that way.
Yeah, well, you have lower standards than everyone else. So.
You know what I mean? Like, I hope the joke is that, like, everyone else's standards in this show is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And she's, like, perfectly fine. Like,
that'd be much funnier.
That would be much funnier than her actually being fat.
Yeah. Could still be that.
It could still be that. I hope it is. But again, like we say with all these comedies, it's entirely dependent on the chemistry of the actors, characters, and writing. So, as it jumping over, what is it? My nice speech today. Do you know what this is? This is because we're recording this 8 hours later than planned.
Look, there's no excuse. It's the middle of the day on a Saturday. You should be awake and alert and.
I'm not used to doing this in the middle of a day on a Saturday. I'm used to doing this at like 4 in the morning.
Look, I slept in. I set my alarms, but I clearly went into a coma and I slept through all 12 of them. Get over it.
Nah. Alright, so, jumping over to CBS. First up, and we've got a few things based on old things here. First up, we have Training Day, which is based on the 2001 movie starring Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke, although neither of them are in this. But they do have Bill Paxton.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a crime thriller that's 15 years after the events of the movie, and we've got a new guy who's the young cop who his name is Justin Cornwell, but if I remember correctly, he's actually black. And this is like a role reversal because now Paxton is the older cop who's corrupt, but he's white now. So they've swapped the races around. And you know what? I would not be interested in this at all, but Bill Paxton has me.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, isn't it?
I'll check out the pilot because of Bill Paxton. That's where I'm coming from with this one. Alright, so next up we have MacGyver.
Oh, God, I forgot about this one as well.
Coming from CBS, this is a remake of the 80s TV show starring Lucas Till. And yeah, it's a 20-something MacGyver as he creates a clandestine organisation where he uses his knack for solving problems in unconventional ways to help prevent disasters from happening.
See, the thing is, I get this in the 80s, but now it's just like, well, I'll just get out my smartphone and I'll Google.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be all high-tech shit now because it's 2016. Yeah. It's going to be stupid if he starts
putting together like a rubber band and a piece of...
I never actually watched MacGyver, but I'm under the impression it was silly stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I got the impression of as well.
It was contraptions.
Yeah. I feel like, does that really work now?
Now he's going to be like a crack hacker and like engineer who puts things together.
Yeah.
Unless they go in tongue-in-cheek, which actually would be a better idea.
I do as well, but do I think they'll do that?
On CBS, no.
Exactly. No, definitely not on CBS.
Nah. So next up we've got Bull, which stars Michael Weatherly. That's not me fucking up. I just can't say that word in my accent.
Weatherly.
Weatherly. Weatherly.
That's the NCIS guy, right? That just left.
It is, yes. It's the guy from
Yes.
NCIS. Yeah, something about R's and L's and the TH sound together like that. I just can't do.
Weatherly. It's not hard.
Weatherly. I have to pause. I need to put a pause into it. Weatherly. Weatherly. That's I can't do it. Right. So the drama is inspired by the career of Dr. Phil McGraw as the founder of one of the most prolific trial consulting firms of all time. Brilliant, brash, charming Dr. Bull, played by Weatherly, is the ultimate puppet master as he combines psychology, human intuition, and high-tech data to learn what makes jurors, attorneys, witnesses, and the accused tick. That was a really fucking awkward sentence to say. I think I nailed it pretty well, but that was a lot of things.
Yeah, that's really wordy.
That sounds like a procedural to me.
Well, I mean, it's on CBS.
It is, but even just the
yeah,
it just sounds like procedural. So yeah, big no.
Not much of a leap for Weatherly from NCIS to this.
No, he's basically traded these whatever his suit was in that to a lawyer's suit.
Just well, he was a FBI sort of style guy in a suit anyway. Yeah.
Fair enough. Why did I think he was like part of the Navy?
It's because NCIS is naval. It's like the Navy branch of
but,
it.
But he did have like he occasionally wore on the proper military Navy thing with the hat, did he not? I seem to recall a poster of NCIS with that on it.
Maybe once or twice in the show. Maybe.
Admittedly, this might literally be the poster for season 1.
It's possible you're mixing him up with one of the other guys who used to be a Marine in that show.
Possibly.
So
I never watched NCIS.
Yeah. I've watched like 10 seasons, so.
What?
I get bored and I stick on a procedural.
You've never seen RoboCop, but you've watched 10 seasons of NCIS.
Because I have to pay attention to that. This I can just kind of put on and be like, it's fine. It's just there. It's background noise essentially. It's the same thing I do with sitcoms.
You are the worst.
I know. You know what's even worse? There's another 3 seasons of NCIS since I haven't watched anymore. I know at some point I'll be bored as shit and I'll just put it on and I'll get through it all again. I'll be up to date.
Sure, we'll see about that. Do you watch the spin-offs?
No, God no. I watched because one of them was a backdoor pilot for the New Orleans one, and it was full of so much jazz, which was fantastic. But everything else about it was even worse than normal.
Oh dear. All right, next up, still on CBS, we've got Pure Genius, which was originally titled Bunker Hill. That follows a young Silicon Valley tech titan, played by Augustus Prue. It's an interesting name. He enlists a veteran surgeon with a controversial past to start a hospital with cutting-edge, new school approach to medicine. I didn't say that wrong, it's just got bad grammar. I'm pointing that out because I have frequently fucked up sentences during this episode, so I'm going to point out when it's not me and it's them. Whether that's Variety where I got this paragraph from, or the official thing from CBS, I don't know, but one of them fucked it up, so I'm letting you know that. It sounds like another procedural on CBS. Let's move on.
Yeah,
we've got enough to cover. Let's not dwell on it. Next up, we're going to comedies on CBS. We've got Man with a Plan, which was formerly titled I'm Not Your Friend. This is the Matt LeBlanc series, which he was guaranteed to be paid for the whole season, even if it didn't get picked up. So surprise, surprise, they picked it up.
Might as well at that point.
Yeah, it's a multi-camera sitcom, and he plays a contractor whose wife goes back to work, and he starts spending more time with his kids, and discovers the truth that every parent eventually realises: his little angels are maniacs. Multi-camera sitcom with a laugh track. I'm probably good.
Nah, I'm out.
Yeah. Next up, we've got The Great Indoors, which stars Joel McHale from Community, and I love Community, so that would make me interested, but the next thing it says is multi-camera. So, it's about an adventure reporter played by McHale who must adapt to the times when he becomes the boss to a group of millennials. There's that word again.
See, the premise isn't bad, but then it's multi-camera.
In the digital department of a magazine. Here's the other interesting part. It also stars Stephen Fry and Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
I'm going to have to check out at least one episode.
Yeah, we'll need to watch the pilot. That's just because they cast.
Multi-camera or not, but...
I mean, if it's set in the office, I can see it working. If it's all in the newsroom, I can see
Yeah.
multi-camera kind of working. The thing is though, is it's probably gonna have a laugh track because it's on CBS, and that'll annoy the shit out of me. But I'll give it a chance. I will give this a chance because of the cast.
Yeah, cast alone deserves a chance.
Yeah. Next up, another comedy on CBS is Kevin Can Wait. Multi-camera again, and it stars Kevin James. Funnily enough, yeah, I know you're already out, but I'll just tell you what it's about first. He's a newly retired police officer. Is he old enough to be a retired police officer?
I don't know. Should we see how old he is?
I don't think he is.
He's 50, 51. So early retirement.
I suppose. He's a newly retired police officer looking forward to spending carefree quality time with his wife and his 3 kids, only to discover that he faces tougher challenges at home than he ever did on the streets.
Oh, Jesus.
That sounds shockingly similar to that Matt LeBlanc one.
Yeah.
Shockingly similar.
In their defence, for him having retired at 50 odd, he is a police officer. Maybe something traumatic happened, and he took a retirement because of that.
Maybe. All right. So we're moving over to NBC now.
This is where the one that excites me is coming.
Well, that's in the comedies. So
I know. We'll get there.
Get in a little bit. First up, we have Timeless, which is we've got more time travel. A mysterious criminal steals a secret, state-of-the-art time machine intent on destroying America as we know it by changing the past. Our only hope is an unexpected team of a scientist, a soldier, and a history professor who must use the machine's prototype to travel back in time to critical events and try and stop him.
Sorry, a scientist, a soldier, and a history professor. It sounds like the start of a joke.
Well, they must make every effort not to affect the past themselves. They must also stay one step ahead of the dangerous fugitive. This is from... Now, the interesting part about this is that it's from Eric Kripke, who created Supernatural, and Shawn Ryan, who created The Shield, which is phenomenal. So this gets instant pilot watching privileges from us.
I haven't watched that. I've watched NCIS, but I haven't watched The Shield.
Oh my god, you are terrible. But yeah, no, a time travel show. This sounds like it could potentially be a good version of Legends of Tomorrow.
It does, doesn't it?
A little bit. So... here's hoping that this is better, and with those names behind it, I am confident it will at least be...
competent.
Yeah, competent. Yes, it can at least be that. Possibly amazing.
Yeah.
Next up from NBC, we have This Is Us, starring Mandy Moore and Milo Ventimiglia, the guy from Heroes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea how to say his last name. The show follows a unique ensemble whose paths cross and their life stories intertwine in curious ways. It sounds like a sort of... it's described as a dramedy.
Okay.
So I can see this going for like a sort of indie movie kind of feeling.
That could be alright.
It could be fine, yeah. So it centers around a group of several people who all share the same birthday. And so much more than anyone would expect. So I feel like they're all strangers who happen to have the same birthday, and then
there's a reason for it, yeah.
Paths all intertwined.
Bit quirky.
Yeah, it sounds quirky. I could like that. Depending on how it's done, I could end up liking that.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out an episode of that one.
Our fellow mailed fuzzer, Matt, would hate it though. I can tell just from the premise.
Yes. I can picture how he would describe it already.
Yeah, he'd be like, so I need to wear a scarf while I'm watching it. That would be his response.
Some hipster trash.
Yeah, hipster trash was how he'd put it. But I think there's potential there, depending on how it's written and so on. And next up, the Chicago universe is expanding. They already have 3 shows in the shared Chicago universe on NBC. They have Chicago Law, no, it's Chicago PD, Chicago Med, and Chicago
Fire. I don't know what it's called. They have a fire department one, don't they?
Yeah, I may not be called Chicago Fire, but that's the 3 shows they've got that are all connected in the Chicago universe. Well, they're adding Chicago Justice, which is the law version of all these procedurals.
Now, I definitely remember talking about this one in pilot season because we were laughing about the Chicago.
Yes, and I'm laughing now too.
Yeah.
So it follows
it
follows the state's attorney's dedicated team of prosecutors and investigators who navigate the heated city politics and controversy head on while fearlessly pursuing justice. As they take on the city's high stakes, often media frenzied cases, they must balance public opinion, power struggles within the system, and their unwavering passion for the law. Law? I am the law! I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that. It all starts with a gut-wrenching case when one of Chicago's finest is shot in the line of duty. I wonder if
a
that's
bit of crossover.
Yeah, I wonder if that happens in the other one. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's 4 shows in this shared universe. And the first one only started like 3 years ago. They've got 4 shows this quick. This is kind of insane.
The Chicago verse.
The Chicago verse. Excellent. Alright. Moving over to comedies. I know this is the one you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Powerless has been greenlit for a season. And this is the DC Comics sitcom, which stars Vanessa Hudgens and perhaps even more interestingly, Alan Tudyk and Danny Pudi. Danny Pudi, of course, is from Community, and Alan Tudyk is, of course, from Firefly and various other things.
That's not what Variety credited him as, though, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't copy that part.
Oh, okay.
I just copied and pasted the part I needed with the synopsis. Yeah. So it's set in the DC universe, but it's a bunch of characters who don't have powers or anything like that. It's set in an insurance firm, so I'd almost say imagine The Office, but it happens to be in the DC universe.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I've been imagining it.
Although I don't necessarily think it's going to be a mockumentary, but so Hutchins plays Emily, a spunky young insurance adjuster specialising in regular people coverage against damage caused by crime-fighting superheroes. It's when she stands up to one of these larger-than-life figures that she accidentally becomes a cult hero in her own right, even if it's just to her group of lovably quirky co-workers. Now, while she navigates her normal everyday life against an explosive backdrop, Emily might discover that being a hero doesn't always require superpowers. The only thing I want to know now, though, because they're calling it a DC Comics comedy, are they actually going to reference the real heroes? Or because the one worry I have is that the poster image that they put online, the superhero that's kind of in the corner is clearly meant to be kind of like inspired by Superman, but isn't actually Superman.
It's just boots and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the colours were the wrong way around, so it was clearly...
Yeah.
So, but I hope they actually like name drop. Just why? Because why not? Why not?
I think they'll definitely be allowed some of the smaller ones, like maybe not the big three, so to speak.
But why not? I mean, it's not like they're not saying it's connected to the movies. They just let them say things like
just have fun with it.
Yeah, say Superman, say Batman, say. But yeah, I want them to do the silly ones. I want them to bring up the Condiment King. I want the Condiment King to be mentioned on TV.
Plastic Man.
He's not as ridiculous as the Condiment King.
No, but I'm just thinking, like, there's so many that are reasonably ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah,
I tell you what I really want actually in this.
Oh, what?
Booster Gold.
If he doesn't shop in Legends.
I don't give a fuck. Take him away from Legends.
Oh dear. Alright, so that's Powerless. That could end up being really cool. Great cast.
I'm so excited. I remember when this came up as the announcement as the green light, I was like, week made. This is it. And then later that day, Supergirl got renewed. So it's like, okay, whatever.
Which was even bigger news because we already care about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so next up, from what we're on, NBC, we have... Now, I'm not sure if this one... I couldn't tell from this one if it was a sitcom, because it describes itself as a comedy, but it sounds like it might also be a hour-long.
Right, okay.
So I'm not sure. But it stars John Lithgow, which is a reason enough to try the pilot, because I like John Lithgow. It's a fish out of water comedy starring John Lithgow. The series follows a bright-eyed New York lawyer played by Nicholas D'Agosto, who heads to a tiny southern town for his first big case, which is to defend the eccentric roller sizing? I don't know what that means. Roller sizing.
Roller sizing?
Yeah, like roller as in roller coaster, and then sizing. So roller sizing. I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
But so the eccentric... I'm just going to ignore that word and say it again. Which is to defend the eccentric poetry professor, played by John Lithgow, who is accused of the bizarre murder of his beloved wife. Settling into his makeshift office behind a taxidermy shop, meeting his quirky team of local misfits, the young lawyer suspects that winning his first big case will not be easy, especially when his client is always making himself look guilty. That sounds kind of great.
It does. My biggest concern is it kind of sounds like a one-season idea.
It does sound like a one-season idea, but I'm wondering if the show after that would be he wins this case at the end of the season, and then he likes the town. Like, he stays there, and then season 2 would have a different quirky character.
Maybe not even in the same town. You just move him to somewhere, like, have a different guest instead of John Lithgow. Have someone else.
You could do that, or he could like end up being like a friend who sticks around. But you have like a new quirky case that you could take the second season. But So I'm not sure if this is half hour or an hour long. Either way, I think we should check out the pilot. I think John Lithgow alone, but him playing like an eccentric guy who keeps making himself look guilty from a murder.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, yeah. I'm down for that. So that's on NBC. So now we're actually into the NBC comedies that I know for sure are comedies. We have Great News, which stars Briga Heelan and Anna, who plays an up-and-coming news producer whose overbearing mother, played by Andrea Martin, re-enters the workforce with a job as an intern at her station. And notable part of this is that it's produced by Tina Fey.
Okay, that immediately made me more interested.
I have no opinion, really. I mean, sort of thing. I'd be fine checking it out.
Yeah, but I like Tina Fey, so...
Next up, comedy-wise at NBC, we've got Marlon, which is inspired by the real life of the titular character, which is Marlon Wayans. So he's going to play a version of himself, kind of like...
I remember this one.
Yeah. And literally all it says is he plays a loving but immature father. There's a lot of father shows this year about fathers dealing with their kids.
Fathers and millennials.
Fathers and millennials.
That's the theme of the year.
Fathers, millennials, and time travel. That's the three things that keep popping up.
Now, which show hits all three?
Next up, we're jumping over to Fox, and I'm surprised these guys aren't getting sued by NBC because they've got a show set in Chicago.
I had no idea where you were going with that for a second.
APB is a police drama inspired by true events set in the Chicago Police Department, spiraling out of control amid sky-high crime. Officer-involved shootings, cover-ups, and corruptions take place. After witnessing a violent crime firsthand, a genius tech billionaire, played by Justin Kirk, decides to do something about it, putting up millions of dollars of his own money to take over the troubled 13th precinct.
I thought you were going to say to become Batman.
No, he buys the police precinct, so it's kind of like a more... I don't know if you'd call it realistic, but a more...
achievable.
Financial method of doing it. So he basically sets up as a private police force. I think this might have originally been called the Precinct 13 or something like that. I vaguely remember having a different title. APB's fine though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with cutting edge technology and revolutionary new ideas, Gideon plans to rethink everything about the way cops fight crime. This could either be laughably insane, amazing, or just dull. This could be anything on the spectrum.
Yeah, no, but
it's definitely worth a watch. The pilot's getting watched, but like this could be a shitty procedural. It could be something that's high concept, but he's got them doing all these really weird things.
Yeah,
that makes it interesting. Oh, that could be anywhere on the spectrum.
Yeah, I have no idea where that's going.
Now Fox have got a couple of things based in old stuff. First up, we've got The Exorcist. That's right, we're getting an Exorcist TV show. Interestingly though, starring Gina Davis, which is quite notable. That's quite a catch for them. It's basically a reboot of the Exorcist story. It's a psychological thriller set in... Alright, okay, that was just a really awkward way of saying that. It's just saying it's set 4 decades after the movie. But yeah, so it's a psychological thriller following 2 very different priests tackling one family's case of a horrifying demonic possession. So it doesn't really tell a lot, really, outside of the whole idea that there's 2 priests that maybe disagree on what's going on.
Yeah, could be alright.
You know what? It could be.
It's one of those where it could be good, could be awful.
Daughter gets possessed, or it doesn't have to be the daughter. It could be a son, but kid gets possessed. Gina Davis is the mother, and the priest need to deal with it. And it's told over 13 episodes instead of a movie.
Yeah,
of course, there has to be
premise
more.
is fine.
Yeah, premise is fine. Obviously, there's going to have to be more to it than there was in the movie to the last 13 episodes. Otherwise, we're going to have that thing with like Man in the High Castle or Legends of Tomorrow, even, where it's just spinning its wheels for a lot of the middle.
Yeah, it could be I don't know. Maybe they deal with other things in the meantime. Follow the priests on different things as well.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Actually, maybe Gina Davis can a woman be a priest? Is it still a priest, or is it a...
not in the Catholic Church. You can't be a priest.
Right, okay. Because they can be a vicar.
Well, not in Roman Catholic, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe Greek Catholic. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know enough about the hierarchy.
You definitely can't. I'm pretty sure you can't be a priest as a woman in a Roman Catholic. Pretty sure.
Yeah. Because bishops can have a wife, but regular priests can't.
I'd say it depends which because in Greek Catholic they can all have wives.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I even knew that partially is because I've watched a Christmas movie called The Bishop's Wife, and I looked it up. I was like, can they have wives?
It depends what branch of Christianity you're into. Like they've all got their own rules.
Oh, so it's all knowledge I don't have. So let's just move on. Exorcist could be good, could be terrible. Don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that about 90% of these shows.
It's because they're really a lot of vague, where the premise is like, it's interesting, but...
The ones where I'm more confident is the ones where like I know that showrunner, and I like that showrunner.
Yeah, or like there's a reasonable cast, or there's
like the one about the time traveler, these time travelers trying to stop the guy who's trying to mess up time from Shawn Ryan and Kripke. Like I'm looking forward to that because it's those guys.
There's pedigree there.
Next up on Fox, we've got Lethal Weapon. Of course, based on the movie. And this doesn't even have a plot, it just assumes you know the movie. But you've got Damon Wayne Sr. playing Murtaugh and Clayne Crawford playing Riggs. So I could see this being absolutely dreadful. But obviously, we're going to check out the pilot.
Yes, well, if Rush Hour was anything to go on.
If you have seen the Lethal Weapon movies, yes?
I've seen bits of them. I've never seen the whole things. I've seen a lot of them, like over multiple viewings out of order, but I've never sat down and watched the whole thing. Because I've seen so much of it now that I don't feel like I need to.
Well, no, I would recommend you check out... Because I know this month you're trying to watch more 80s movies. Well, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 both happen to be in the 80s. So.
I know, but I feel like I've pretty much seen them already.
Next up, we have Pitch, which is a female-led baseball drama, which tells the story of Jenny Baker, played by newcomer Kaylee Bunbury. That's a cool name. Bunbury, I like that. She should be a baker. She shouldn't be an actor. That should be a baker's name.
That's a good baker's name.
I'm Bunbury. But she... See, I don't know what... I feel like they've mentioned that she's beautiful, and I don't feel that's relevant to this. That feels really sexist to have to put that in there.
It does a little bit,
it's
doesn't it? It's
completely irrelevant to the plot. Because it says she's tough, right? And that's fine.
That's a character thing.
She's tough and incredibly gifted athlete who becomes the most famous person in the country when she's called up by the San Diego Padres, making her the first woman to play in Major League Baseball, right? The beautiful part, I feel, is...
Irrelevant,
yeah. It just feels...
But I don't give a fuck about baseball.
I don't, but at the same time, I could see this being an okay show.
It depends how many references to the sport they make.
Well, she's always going to have games, but I like sports movies.
But like what I mean is they could make a lot of references to the sport and like rely on knowledge of the sport to further things.
I would hope they don't. I would think they wouldn't. To me, I feel like most good sports movies don't do that. They assume.
Yeah, but this might not be good. Yeah, I know what you mean, but
like I feel like as long as you understand the basic rules of the sport, which I think for most major sports you would do.
Yeah.
That said, I don't fucking have a clue what the rules of rugby are. But
I can tell you more about rugby than I could about baseball.
Nah, see, I could tell you the rules of baseball.
You hit something, you run.
I mean, you've played rounders; it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, I can give you that much, but rugby I can give you proper rules.
Yeah, I couldn't. I haven't got a clue how you play rugby.
Come back to me when we get a cricket TV show.
Oh my god, that's not good cricket. Cricket's worse. Cricket is if you take baseball and make it 10 times more boring.
I love cricket. Cricket's
a shambles of a sport. Anyway, I mean, admittedly, I don't really like any sports, but
I like
especially watching them. There's some that I would like to play. Like, I don't mean playing some of them. Some of them are fun to do, but watching them, I don't get it. Anyway, we're tangenting once again. Next up, we're on to comedies on Fox. We have Making History, which is single camera, which is good, and it comes from producers Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Okay,
as well as Seth Cohen. It chronicles three friends from two different centuries as they try to balance the thrill of time travel with the mundane concerns of their present-day lives. Described as two shows in one, It is both a rollicking historical adventure and a contemporary comedy about love, friendship, and trying to fit in an increasingly complex and impersonal world.
One of them has father issues, I guarantee it. We're hitting 2 out of the 3 with that.
So it says 3 friends, so one of them's from the past and 2 of them are from present day, I'm guessing? Or
they're all from 3 separate.
Oh, maybe, yeah, they could all be from 2 separate times.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. I'm down for checking it out, absolutely.
It's got a good premise.
Yeah, and it's got Lord and Miller behind it, which is good.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. Next up, we've got The Mick, which, not to be confused with The Nick, which was a show recently, I think.
Don't know.
I'm sure it was. Wasn't that a show called with Clive Owen called The Nick about a doctor?
Passed me by if there was.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it was. Well, this is The Mick with an M, and it's starring Caitlin Olsen. I don't know, is that another Olsen person, like part of that family, or is it just someone else named Olsen? I don't know.
No idea.
I've not heard of her, so I'll assume it's unrelated. It revolves around a brash, blue-collar, 2-bit hustler who has spent her entire life gaming the system and shrieking any semblance of responsibility. But when her estranged sister and billionaire brother-in-law flee the country to escape federal charges, the opulent, carefree life Mickey has always envied is finally within reach. But there is one catch: she must assume custody of her sister's 3 rich, entitled, high-maintenance children.
I remember this one.
Do you know what? There's a lot of shows here where someone has to have 3 kids now, and they're not used to it. At least this one sounds a bit more interesting though, because she isn't a mother, and she's presumably terrible at it. I don't know. I don't know. This could be fine. Again, just depends.
Yeah.
But that does us for Fox. We're on to CW now.
Still going.
Which is the last network in this section.
We've still got other shit after this.
I know, but this is the last part of this section. We have Riverdale, which comes from Greg Berlanti, who now just going to have a show on CW every night of the week, apparently. So Riverdale, if you don't recognise the name Riverdale, Riverdale is the town in Archie Comics. So it's a show about Archie, Betty and Veronica, based in the comics, and the synopsis, which we've heard before, but I'll repeat it once more. It's been described as a surprising and subversive take on Archie, Betty and Veronica and their friends, exploring the surrealism of small-town life, the darkness and weirdness bubbling underneath Riverdale's wholesome facade.
Kind of sounds like Buffy.
It does a little bit. Do you know what? That's what really intrigues me about this, is that I would be down for just a general Archie show, but the fact that it sounds like they're maybe going to touch upon like some darker elements from like maybe Afterlife. I mean, I don't think they're going to go full on zombie apocalypse like Afterlife.
Yeah. But they have Sabrina as well, don't they?
Yeah, Sabrina's part of that universe, so they might introduce Sabrina at some point. But I like that idea. I like that it's like focusing on the fact that it's a small town.
Yeah. I
really like that part of it. So I'm hopeful. I'll really like this, actually.
I do like Berlanti.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for this. Small town, weird darkness bubbling underneath. I really like that part of the description.
Yeah.
So I'm down for that.
Hits all the check boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah, hits all my Sunnydale high feels. This is what I want from it. Next up from CW, we've got Frequency, which is actually based on an old movie from the year 2000, which I vaguely remember, like the adverts for. Never seen it.
At what point did 2000 become an old movie?
Well, I'm not. To be fair, I don't think a movie from 2000 is old. To me, a movie's not old until it's like the 60s.
Yeah, but when you just said based on the old movie from 2000.
I know. I apologise. I didn't mean that. Please do not take that. For me, 2000 is not old. For me, even though movies from the 70s and early to mid 80s were before I was born, I still don't consider them old movies, because when I was growing up, it was movies from the 80s I was watching. You know?
Yeah.
So to me, old is not until you get into the 60s. Which is why I hate when like some young punk will be like, "Oh, I was watching this old movie from 2003." I'm like, "Fuck off."
I can see it when you get back to like 80s, because I feel like there's a clear stylistic sort of thing when between the 80s and 90s, where like 90s looks more modern, so to speak, for a lot of them.
Maybe. But anyway, Frequency is coming from Supernatural showrunner Jeremy Carver, and it's based on this movie from 2000 called the same name, which is about a female police detective, and well, obviously this is describing the show rather than the movie, but it's about a female police detective in 2016 who discovers she is able to speak to her estranged father, who died in 1996 via this radio. They forge a new relationship, working together on unresolved murder cases, but an unintended consequence of the butterfly effect wreak havoc in the present day. So I think he's in 1996, and she's in 2016.
Yeah.
And and there's obviously the sci-fi part of the show is that he can talk to her through this radio.
Does this count as a time travel one for our tick box?
It kind of is.
Yeah.
It's a communication through time travel.
Yeah.
And butterfly effects happening, so
I think we can count that as one of them.
yeah. So
and his father issues.
Yeah. So obviously he's helping her solve cases that he couldn't solve back then or something like that. I think the movie looked bad from what I remember, but this sounds like it's got potential.
This is CW, right?
CW, yeah.
I feel like this could be paired quite nicely with iZombie.
Possibly. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it won't be that good, but
I mean, iZombie typically is on after Flash, but yeah, I
can see them moving the schedule around a bit for the next season.
Well, no, because they only have 2 hours at a programme in a night, and I feel like they want one of the DC shows per night.
Ah, that's a good point.
Because they're going to have Supergirl now too, which I would assume would still be on Monday, and then that way they'd have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then when Legends goes back Thursday. That seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, good point.
And then next up, and last on this part of the pickups, I say that because technically some of the other stories are kind of pickups, but they're different because they're not the networks. But we've got No Tomorrow, which is written and executive produced by Jane the Virgin Scribe, Corinne Brinkerhoff. Oh, that's a good name. Brinkerhoff.
Strong name.
Yeah. And Witches of East End alum Maggie Friedman, along with some other writers. It's about a risk-averse, straight-arrow female procurement manager. I had to think about that word before I said it. At an Amazon-like distribution centre, falls in love with a freewheeling man who lives his life to the fullest because he believes the apocalypse is imminent. They embark on a quest together to fulfil their individual bucket lists to comedic and poignant results.
Could be good.
Could be. And that's an hour long. That's not a sitcom. So, but interesting. CW don't really do sitcoms now that I think about it.
No, they don't. I can't think of any on there.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, again, could be good. There's enough things in that premise that could be entertaining. It depends on the tone, really. Because I'm not sure what tone this is going to take.
Yeah, that's... I mean, it's a CW, so...
Still, though. But yeah, that's it for all the network pickups for the coming fall season. So a lot of interesting stuff in there. Certainly a good... I'd say there's probably a good 10 shows in there that we're definitely checking pilots out for.
I'm sure we can expect trailers soon enough.
Yeah, usually we get them after the upfronts, yeah. Because they've shot the pilots by that point, so they can put out a little...
sizzle reels and stuff.
Yeah, and they tend to reveal too much.
Yeah, I remember. I think last year was particularly bad, where a lot of the trailers were a good 5 minutes long.
Yeah, and
like, this is the pilot.
Yeah, it'd be the abridged version of the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so some more news to cover though. So, we'll call this the regular news section. Joel.
This is what we'd normally have, right?
Yeah, from this point on is what we normally have. Joel Kinnaman is going to start a new show from Netflix. He was RoboCop in the RoboCop remake, and he was in The Killing, and he's on Suicide Squad soon. So Joel Kinnaman is going to star in a sci-fi series on Netflix called Altered Carbon. It's going to be 10 episodes long, and so Altered Carbon is based on the Richard K. Morgan 2002 novel of the same name. The futuristic series is set in the 25th century, when the humanoid mind has been digitized and the soul is transferable from one body to the next. Kinnaman will play Takeshi. That's a weird name for him, being a white guy. Takeshi Kovacs is his full name. Kovacs sounds like Russian as well. That's a really weird.
Yeah, Kovacs is.
But the funny thing is, what I like about that though is because it's set like 400 years in the future. To me, that implies that like all the cultures are all mixed.
Yeah, there's a lot less stigma between countries.
Yeah, like everything's all mixed up and things have changed, and that's where it's went. Like, I think there's a point to why he's got that name. But yeah, so Takeshi Kovacs, he is a former elite interstellar warrior known as an envoy, who has been in prison for 500 years and is downloaded into a future he had tried to stop. If he can, because obviously his mind's been put on a hard drive or whatever, or whatever they've got. If he can, so he's been downloaded again in the future that he tried to stop previously 500 years ago. If he can solve a single murder in a world where technology has made death nearly obsolete, he'll get a chance at a new life on Earth. High concept as fuck.
It is.
But I'm down.
I'm interested.
It.
Yeah. Especially
on
Netflix, where I feel like they'll put the budget in to pull this off properly.
Yeah, you know what? This is the kind of thing which we might do the binge watch and actually review that weekend.
We might.
Potentially. I'm not going to promise it, but I can see us doing it with this one.
They give a date for this?
No date. But 10 episodes, which is nice and tight as well.
Yeah, no, because depending on where this was, I'd worry. But with Netflix, I feel like they'll put the budget and make sure this pulls off properly.
Yeah. Potentially. They've had a couple of blunders, but that's
potential. But the track record gives me promise, at least.
Yeah. And directing the first episode is Miguel Sapochnik, who I didn't know, but they've told me here nice and handily that he's directed some episodes of Game of Thrones, so...
fair enough.
No reason to be upset about that. Next up, Bryan Cranston is also going to be in a 10-episode sci-fi show, but it's an anthology series, so I don't know if he's going to be in every episode, if he's just going to be in a couple of them, but he's also producing it, so he's heavily involved.
Okay.
And it's called Electric Dreams, The World of Philip K. Dick. So it's basically going to be an anthology show with each episode adapting different Philip K. Dick stories.
I like it.
So that's pretty cool. And it is a co-production between Sony Pictures Television and Channel 4.
Ooh.
So it's a US-UK co-production. And it comes from, and this is another thing that really interests me, Ronald D. Moore, who is the showrunner from Battlestar Galactica. Which was fantastic. And also Michael Dinner from Justified, which I've not seen, but I know has its fans. So not a bad.
I'm intrigued.
Not a bad name either. So those two will write and executive produce, while Cranston will also executive produce and appear in the show. Electric Dreams will illustrate Dick's prophetic vision and celebrate the prized sci-fi novelist's work. And each episode will be a standalone drama adapted from and contemporized from his stuff. And it says each one will be adapted by different writers. They'll get in.
Okay, so reason to stick with the whole show then, even if you don't like an episode.
Exactly, yeah, it'll be different writers for each one, yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably, Ronald D. Moore and Michael Dinner might do an episode each because they're showrunning it, and then they'll have maybe 8 from.
Yeah, they might do the start and end ones.
Yeah, and then the other ones will. And it sounds like. It says the way they're phrased it here make it sound like they're going to go after like fairly notable writers to come in and do like one episode.
If you only get a 1-episode commitment, it's much easier to get them. Yeah,
and it's like a 40-minute thing. I mean, there's no. I don't think there's a network yet. Well, obviously Channel 4 is for the UK, presumably, but so yeah, that sounds cool. I'm down for this.
I'm definitely interested.
So that's 2 sci-fi shows back to back there that I'm.
This is looking like it could be a good year.
You know what? See this coming like fall into next spring. We're going to be such a hectic week of TV every week.
Oh, I think
it's great, but it
might give us an excuse to drop some of the shittier shows on our schedule.
I don't know. For completion's sake, those 2 shitty ones that we hate, I think we need to keep.
Oh, god damn it!
Don't get me wrong. It means we can be ruthless with the pilots, though. But there's this many.
Like this is shit. No.
Yeah, but still, there you go. And then next up, this one's not as great news. The Sci-Fi Channel has ordered the pilot for Krypton officially, coming from David S. Goyer, and it's about Superman's grandfather. So however many years before the destruction of Krypton, and it's all about the politics on Krypton and blah 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 blah. And
part of me still has hope.
And if you're wondering why I sound so uninterested, it's because I hated Batman v Superman. David S. Goyer's heavily connected in that. I have no faith in this. Obviously, we do most of the superhero shows, so we have to try it at least. But I'm not.
I think I mentioned before. I like Krypton in Man of Steel. I really do. I think it's fascinating. I think it's an interesting take on the planet. And I am interested in seeing more of that. But I'm not sure if this is how I want to see it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But you know what that S stands for.
Hope.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm not hopeful for this, honestly. And the reason why I'm not hopeful is because A, it's David Goyer. B, the other examples of prequel shows like this have been, Gotham is just like.
Does that even count as a prequel show?
At this point, yeah. But that's the thing, though. I'm worried. Like, what are they going to do for plot wise? Like, if they come up with a good story, then fine. But I feel like it's going to be nothing but nods to things that are going to happen in the future.
It could be, and that is a danger. But then I feel maybe it's just about far enough removed that it won't be that.
You'd hope. So that's that. And then last up on the news this week, we have come to an end of the news. You'll be happy to hear. Last up, Wentworth Miller has signed a new series regular deal with the DC TV stuff. This is a really unique contract, though, and I'll tell you why. Because next season he will not be a regular on Legends of Tomorrow. He will be a regular in general for DC TV, meaning that he can appear on any of their 4 shows.
Now that is interesting.
So he's got a regular contract, meaning he can appear presumably up to 22 episodes of stuff, but it can be mixed between all of their shows.
Okay.
Now, the episode of Legends of Tomorrow that we review on this show this week we can't really talk about it without spoilers, and this is not a spoiler section, so we're not going to. But I think next week when we talk about Legends of Tomorrow in the spoiler section, we should bring this up again and talk about how this news affects this week's episode.
Yes, it'll make things much clearer.
Possibly, I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's news. I don't think he's a great actor, but I think that this contract is specifically very intriguing.
It reminds me a lot of the Marvel Universe contracts, where you're contracted for this many films in this universe, not in this franchise. Like, say Iron Man, for example, as a franchise. You're not contracted for 6 Iron Man films, you're contracted for 6 Marvel films.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and that means he could pop up in Supergirl. He could pop up in Arrow.
Yeah, I mean,
he's definitely going to pop up in Flash again. Yeah.
Of course, that's the one that makes most sense
because he's Captain Cold. So, but it's weird they're making him be this guy who can travel between the shows. You think, like,
See, I think I get it though, because I feel like the leads of the shows, they need to tie to their show. They need the contract for their show.
Oh, of course, but you would think like Atom would make more sense than him.
Yeah.
Being
maybe that's coming.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So that's the last thing in the news. So that has been the epic length news, probably the longest news segment we've ever had on Almost Cancelled. So if you stuck around for all that and you were interested, I thank you greatly. So now we're getting on to the week's TV reviews. So of course, if you're on the audio version, they're about to start in a minute. Just stick around, use the timestamps in the description to jump to the ones you want to. And if you're on YouTube, just check out the... Actually, they're not on the screen anymore. We're doing a new thing. They're not annotations. They're going to be in the cards. So you just click on the information button in the corner, and you'll get links to the reviews.
Alright, up in the top right. I think I'm not in the right direction.
No, wrong.
No,
that one.
That way. That'll be about...
That way, yeah.
Be about here where my finger.
Yeah. And there'll be a link in there to the playlist that'll have all the reviews and a few individual links too. So you can click on them. Nice and easy. It looks a bit sleeker, and the screen's not cluttered with the big blocks of links. So we're going for a more professional look, I guess. If only Connor would comb that mess of a hair.
It's untamable.
Yeah. Oh well. Alright, so thanks guys. So here's this week's TV reviews.